Don't move. Keep it locked. You already know. You're listening to the Fit Fatherhood podcast. And we're having conversations with dope dads covering the 4 pillars of fatherhood. We call it the Fit Fatherhood formula. Faith, family, finance, and fitness. That's right. These dads are setting the pace in business and fatherhood. This show isn't only about the outside success. We're getting down to who you are. Gentlemen, it's time to get fit. And now, let's get into the show.
All right, welcome back to the Fit Fatherhood podcast, a podcast for fathers by fathers, where we talk about the 4 pillars of fatherhood, which are faith, family, finance, and fitness. And we've been on a roll here with guests. Like, I feel like we've hit a stride where we just not that any of the guests in the past weren't great, right? But I feel like we've gotten to some really, really good guests, kind of just back to back, and I'm excited every time I step into this booth / studio and get an opportunity to talk to somebody. But I'm excited for this particular episode because David is in a similar space in terms of what he does. And I'm really excited to kind of hear a little bit more about that, hear about his kind of leap of faith into what he's doing now. And so my guest today, I'm gonna give away too much. I'm gonna let you do it. My guest today is David Moss Jr. Let me say that because that's an important part of it too. David Moss Jr. David, how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. Listen, I once I kind of, what's funny is you don't know that you're like connected, and not that we're connected, but when I went and looked at your Instagram when we first kind of got connected through email, and I was like, dang, I commented on something because I saw the workout video, the one that you have pinned, and I saw that. And it said 41 weeks ago. And I was like, oh, I commented on like, this is beautiful because it is, man. I'm a strength and conditioning coach. And so, seeing kids outside, they were getting the workout in on their own. And it wasn't like easy stuff, right? They're doing like front squats and like, that's kind of stuff that you don't see kids typically do. And what that told me, or what that says to me, is that you are leading by example. You're making fitness fun. You are helping them understand the importance of taking care of their body and their health. And I think that's absolutely phenomenal. And it's not like it was sport related, like it was just them outside doing their thing, which is amazing.
Just on a normal day. So it's been a blessing. We have 4 kids. I married my best friend when I was 21 years old. And it's funny, we knew each other for about 4 years before we got married and started having kids. And we always knew we wanted to have a larger family. And like, we had just talked about it. Like, we had talked about what life would look like. We met when we were 18 years old, and we both agreed like, oh, it'd be so cool to have like a lot of kids, and not only just have a lot of kids, but like be a very active, adventurous family. And God had plans for us, and we were both going down these crazy paths, and we ended up together, married with kids. And here we are, almost 15 years married. And it's been a really cool thing to see actually happen. Like, people can have dreams when they're young. It's like, oh, I want to have a family. I want to do this. I want to be rich and successful and famous and all this stuff. And then you get older and you realize like a lot of the stuff that you dreamed up didn't really matter, but the family part of it and having an active family became a huge part of our life. And it has been really cool to just see it all unfolding, like just to see my kids enjoying the life they're living, using the tools that we have access to and exposure to. It's been really, really cool. And then to see their friends. Yesterday, we had celebrated my daughter's birthday. So we had like 100 people over here yesterday. Like, I'm like a text message invite. Like, hey, we're going to have like a little random party over here. Anyone who wants to come on over. It was wild and crazy. And like, we didn't have a bounce house or anything planned. It was just like our backyard. And for, the 3 hours that the party was going on, it was just mass chaos of fun. Kids are jumping in cold plunges, getting in saunas, going down zip lines into the lake, swimming, fishing. Just, it was so fun. And to me, that's like seeing the dream unfold. Like, that's what I hoped my kids would enjoy and their friends would get to enjoy. And here we are living it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like, you've obviously built a really, really solid community, right? Like, just of people, and not only like yourself, but obviously your kids. You've kind of helped groom really good kids, because if you sent out an invite to come to the party and your kid was a jerk, we were like, no, we got to wash our hair today. We're not gonna be able to make it. Yeah, so that's awesome, man. And again, that's you probably aren't doing it for those reasons, but that's a testament to how you're parenting, how you and your wife are parenting, and not only that, are showing up as individuals, right? Because there's people that invite us to stuff all the time, and I'm like, oh, man,
yes.
Do we have to go?
I know. It's crazy. You know, it's funny. Like we'll get into it, I'm sure, throughout this podcast. But like my life changed dramatically in the past 2 years. And not that my life was bad prior to, it was different. And I made some decisions. I left a 20-year career where I was the VP of a large company, family company too. So there was a lot involved in that decision. It wasn't just like leaving a corporate job where you didn't know anybody. I knew everybody, and we were
Yeah.
family. And I left it, and it was tough. But one of the things that was one of the many things that led me down that road is, and it wasn't about anyone specific, but I felt like I was obligated to answer the phone at all times. I felt like I was obligated to respond to text messages at all times. I felt like I was responsible for reading my emails at all times and like responding back very quickly. And I realized, pretty quickly that that takes your attention away from the things that really do matter. Like work is part of life. We have to work, and we need to work. We need to work well. We need to be good stewards of our money, and we need to, in anything that we do a good job at it. When it's taking your attention off of the things that truly matter and you're really responsible for, which we as parents are really responsible for raising our kids. We can't send them off to school and expect our teachers to really teach our kids how to be good people. We can't send them to church on Sundays and Wednesdays and expect their teachers to just teach them everything they need to know about being a good human being. We as parents have to take that responsibility on ourselves, but it's very hard because so many of us have multiple jobs and multiple distractions and multiple new outlets that our parents didn't even have. Like we don't even, I think, acknowledge it enough, but like I'm a content creator now. That's my job. I'm a full-time content creator, and it's the greatest gig in the world. I'm super blessed to be able to afford life by creating content that hopefully inspires people to live a little bit better. But if I was doing this and my job and this and parenting and involved in my church, like you could very quickly run out of the 18 to 24 hours that we have in a day very fast. And it's easy to put your kids on the back burner and be like, they're my kids. They'll love me anyway. They know that I'm working hard for them. But I don't know. I decided to just make a massive change in my life, and it was the greatest decision ever. It was definitely steered by God, and I'm very grateful for what I'm able to do and how I'm able to spend time with my kids. But I think what I would like to talk about maybe is that decision and what I've seen happen, not only in my life, but in the lives of so many people around us.
Yeah. Well, let's do it. Let's rewind, and we'll work our way back up to the decision, right? Like, so you were in the car industry, a family business, right? And I'll go back a little further. We talked about like the kids party and like kind of the environment that you've created for your family now. Was your childhood like that, where you kind of had like a really close-knit family and like people around and all that kind of stuff?
Yes. So it's always different too. My dad's a first generation success. So he doesn't come from much. He was born and raised in Ohio. And when he was young, he moved to Florida and married my mom and had me. Like he had me, he was vending popcorn at SeaWorld. So his story is incredibly inspiring. But him and my mom went from living in a 1-bedroom apartment, vending popcorn at SeaWorld, being a waitress, to had the opportunity to sell golf clubs, to get into the car business. And he's got so many cool parts to his story, and I hope one day he can get on podcasts and share it. But it's an inspiring story. But he did have to work a lot. Like he grinded a lot. So as a kid, I loved spending time with my family, and we had a ton of friends and family always around us. There was no lack of people around us, but it was different. It was just a little bit different. And I think the American dream of like grinding and working hard and making money and having more to bless your kids with, I think was like a huge part of not only my parents, but like my friends' parents and even my wife's parents and just everybody. It was like, we've got to work really, really hard so that we can provide more for our kids. And I had a great upbringing, great family, but I do wish if we could rewind it, I would like to have just spent more time with my more undivided attention time with my mom and dad, where we could do things and we were just 100% present, not thinking about work. And I know that's easier said than done because that's just a big part of life, but with people around, but it was just different. It was like a big building season of life.
Okay. Do you think that has encouraged your recent kind of transition? Like noticing that you maybe were falling into the same kind of cycle of, Yeah,
Yeah,
because
for sure. We got into the car, in the car business. And the car business is, if you know anybody in it, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hours. You can make good money, but it does take a lot of your time. And it's one of the greatest businesses in the world because anybody can get into it and do really, really well. But it just took a lot of time. I got married at 21 years old. At that point, I was already in management. Like I started working in the car business at 15 years old, full time. And from 15, 16, 17, 18 through high school, right after graduating, like straight into like it was full time. A lot of my time was invested at the dealership. And at the time I was dabbling in being a professional wake skater and wakeboarding and surfing and all the board sports. And that was like where my passion was. I had so much fun doing that, but I was also really good in the car business. And I was like, man, like, what should I do? Should I like continue pursuing a career as a professional wake skater, or should I just kind of like let that fizzle out and focus on this? Cause this could turn into something really quick. And I excelled fast. I got into, against my dad's wishes, I got into management pretty quick and was really good and was winning awards and doing all this stuff. And it was cool, making great money at a very young age. Got married at 21, was able to support my family. Like I didn't struggle financially at all. The car business provided a great lifestyle. So I didn't struggle financially, but I always wished I could spend more time with my family. I'd get up early and go to work. I'd be at work late. We would win awards, so we'd travel, and you can't bring the kids when you're doing a lot of the travel. So there was a lot of give and take, and it's not bad. It did kind of leave a little hole, a little void in me that was like, man, money is great, and yes, it's a part of life, and it does help. But I mean, you can always make more of it. And I think that was kind of like one of the last thoughts I had. It's like, I could always get back in the car business. Am I going to burn some bridges and hurt some people by leaving this career? Yeah. Could I get back in the car business and make good money if this all fails? Yeah, I could. Is that what I want to do? What I feel God has planned out for me? No, but it is the possibility. But will I ever get this time back where my 5-year-old son is asking me to pull him around the backyard on a wagon? That's the stuff that, like, when they all move out, I can go back and sell cars again if I need to.
right.
But for now, if God's going to continue allowing me to provide for them and spend time with them, I mean, why not, right?
Yeah. I think there's no better time than right now, right? And obviously, we can always look back at it and go, "Oh man, I wish I would have done it," several years ago. Even for me, I had a similar situation where I was working 12, 16-hour days and, got an hour here or there to spend with the kids. And again, intentional about how I spent the time, just very unaware of how little time I was spending. When you made this decision, how old were your kids when you decided to step away from the car business?
This was just under 2 years ago. So Ava was 11. My oldest was 11. And then they're staggered by basically 2 years. So 11, 9, 7. And then Wyatt was, I want to say 3. Yeah, he was
Okay.
3. Yeah, so they were young, and it was a hard decision to make, and there was definitely some heartache and some relationships that fell apart for a little bit, and a lot of the right ones came back. A lot of the right relationships ended up mending themselves over a little bit of time, but it was definitely not an easy decision. It wasn't a very supported decision by many, for obvious reasons. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of people like, dude, 20 years, you're just going to throw it away to be an influencer. And I'm like, I don't really want to be an influencer, but
Right.
if I can help more people around the world find the right health and wellness products and figure out the modalities that will help a normal person who didn't grow up as an athlete, who didn't grow up as a doctor, who didn't go to school and isn't a biologist or a chemist, I'm just a normal dude. I'm just sharing what is actually working for me and what's not. And it's been a pretty cool journey. I went full time August 7th, 2023. So almost 2 years of being a full time content creator and never gone without. God's provided some incredible relationships, partnerships, and just everything I need. And it's been awesome. Like, like you have to stand firm. Like when God gives you this vision and this dream, and it feels like it's truly from Him, it's not for selfish ambition or desires. No one should understand it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure when you started your podcast, a lot of people were like, "Oh, what are you doing? You're just trying to, make a name for yourself." Who knows? Like,
Yeah.
closest friends and family, like you don't really get a ton of support when you go off and try something like this.
Yeah. It's interesting that if it's quote unquote unconventional, right? Like there's these things that people expect you to do, right? You go to school, you go to college or you get a job, and there's certain careers that people are like, that you're, oh, okay, cool. Like they can relate to it because it's like a common or normal thing, right? Like, but when you transition, like when I stepped away from my job, my dad was like, "Are you what's like?" His initial conversation was not very pleasant, and then over time, like he kind of got to a point where he was like, "Well," he's like, I think we've done a decent enough job of getting you to this point. Like you are making a decision that you feel is best," and like he kind of came along and got on board. But initially, he was like, "Bro, what is wrong with you? Like, what are you thinking right now?" And I was just willing to bet on myself and bet on the idea that this was the path that I was supposed to be on. We say a leap of faith, but it was literal faith. Like I just really believed that, as you mentioned a second ago, like God was calling me to do something different, something bigger. Not that what I was doing wasn't important,
Right.
but it was something else that was calling, like a stronger calling for me.
Man, I love to hear that too. And I think those are the stories that, like, so here we are almost 2 years later, full-time content creator.
Mm-hmm.
Now the people who question, even including my dad, like it was just 2, 3 weeks ago, we had our first real conversation where he's like, I just don't even understand how you make money. Like what is it that you actually do? Because I don't know if I don't want to say he didn't support it, because I definitely felt support. I mean, he's purchased some products that I've reviewed and stuff, and he enjoys them, like a sauna,
Mm-hmm.
cold plunge, different things like that. He enjoys it, and he's into fitness too. But I just don't think he really understood the whole, like, basically what we do selling cars to our community. Like we have our market of people. We
Mm-hmm.
advertise, we talk about it. People come in, they inquire, they have their reservations, they have their questions. You help them figure out what's the best route for them to go, and then they purchase. Whether they purchase a car from you or from someone else, they purchase, and then it just kind of keeps revolving. In my sphere of YouTube, like that's what I do. I
Mm-hmm.
vet out the best products, and I'm very selective with the products that I choose to review. I won't review products that I think are junk, or I don't think will serve people for a long time. And I want to help people make the best decision. But instead of it being just my local Tampa, Florida market, it's the world. Like I'm helping a guy in Australia right now build a cold plunge, like not charging him for it. He's just emailing me back and forth like, hey, the parts are different here than they are in America. And it's fun. It's like really fun to help him figure out what's the right chiller for him to get, what's the right pump and hoses for him to get to build his DIY cold plunge that will benefit him and his wife and his kids. And it's like now, because of the power of internet, like you can connect to people all around the world instantly.
Mm-hmm.
So the market's much bigger. When I explained it to him like that, he's like, dang, that's actually really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that is really cool. I mean, like looking at your YouTube and seeing all of the stuff that you've done and that you're doing. I'm curious. Obviously, we talked about, in the car business in your previous life, you're working a whole lot, right? Like I think one thing people don't realize about content creation is there's also still a lot of work. Like
Oh
it
yeah.
isn't like people think, oh, you do is shoot a video, and like no, that's not how it works. Like, yeah, well, I can shoot a video just like you shoot a video and you post it on social media or YouTube or whatever, and nothing happens. Like I can't afford to, I can, but I can't afford for that to be the situation. So there's a whole lot more that goes into it. Can you kind of give us an idea of what that looks like on a kind of a regular basis?
Yeah. So I'll tell you how it started, and then I'll tell you kind of how it's progressed, because I feel like this is what a lot of people want to hear. And I love helping people. I help a lot of, I hate to say it, like I'm not like trying to be cool, but I help a lot of former athletes that were big names in their respected sports that have retired since or are on their way to retirement, and they see they have this audience and they want to try to figure out what's the next step. And being a content creator is that could be that next step, depending on what you're trying to do, right? So I coach a lot of athletes and celebrities on how I did this, because I'm not, a normal just guy who started videoing himself playing pranks or like doing challenges or, anything like that. I'm
Yeah.
not an entertainment content creator. I consider myself an educational content creator. I want to help you make the best decision for yourself. So when I first started, flashback to 2020, when COVID was coming, we in the car business, I never had any intentions of being a content creator as like my job. I didn't even know it was possible. There's so much lingo that I've had to learn that I didn't even know was real words. Back then, we were told we weren't going to be able to present our cars to customers. So I was like, well, shoot, like we need to be able to like show the customers the cars and like what makes this car different from the others. I was really like, I I did a lot of the training myself, so I had a lot of knowledge. And I was like, you know what? People are using YouTube to like do walkarounds and stuff. We had this guy who was a local teacher come in and start doing car reviews and stuff on like his YouTube channel. And we talked a lot about it. He kind of educated me on it. I was like, shoot, I'm just going to start a YouTube channel and do walkarounds of our cars. So I did that, filmed it on my iPhone 13 mini, front camera, horrible quality, no mic, just filmed it.
Yeah.
Edited on iMovie, like literally just like cut out the gaps and the problems. Had no idea what I was doing with transitions or anything. And then I just started publishing walkarounds of cars, and then I would, just kind of like do some different news that's going on in the car business, and like it was cool. And we would share those videos with our customers that were curious. And being in Florida, COVID didn't really shut us down, so I learned YouTube. It was this new mountain that I had never conquered. This new challenge that I was just like, oh, this is so exciting. It's new, it's hard, and it's not easy. And like, not everybody, everyone could do it, but not everybody's going to do it. And I loved that. So I just kept doing it. Then I like built a chicken coop and I videoed that. Then I built a beehive and videoed that. Then I built like any little project I was doing. I was just like, this could help somebody. So I would video it and just post it. Eventually, like, I started getting a little more vulnerable. Like when you first start filming yourself, it's a little scary to like share like your home and your kids. Like you're always told like, don't show your kids online, like,
Yeah.
and they're already on there. if they're walking on like a street corner, everyone has Ring cameras and security footage. Our kids are all over the internet. Like if they needed it, if like someone wanted a picture of them, they'd find them. So like you had to kind of like stop worrying so much. And I was like, you know what? My kids are freaking cool. I'm just going to video our projects and doing stuff together. So one of the projects was building a cold plunge. And there's a big story behind that, but I'm from Florida. I've never been in cold water. I never played sports to where I got an ice afterwards. Like this was a new experience to me. I went snowboarding with some buddies. We ended up jumping in a cold river after snowboarding all day. And I was like, this was like incredible. Like the feeling I got, I just felt like instantly renewed. So I got home and immediately built a cold plunge. And how I did it was when I was younger, I used to have fish aquariums. And I remember having saltwater aquariums, you would get chillers that would keep the water at a certain temperature. So I'm like, I'm just going to build a fish aquarium and not put fish in it. I'm just going to put myself in it. So I did that. I videoed it on my little iPhone 13 mini, edited it on iMovie. It was all free, posted it. That video went crazy. Next thing you know, people are reaching out to me from all over the world, asking questions like, dude, it's so great, but how do you clean it? I didn't even think that far ahead. I was like, shoot, I need to figure that out. So I figured it out. I filmed it. I posted it. That video went crazy. Then it was like, hey, instead of using a galvanized trough that's metal and you're using electronics, why don't we use a Rubbermaid tub? And I was like, that's a great idea. So then I got a Rubbermaid tub and I videoed that and went crazy. I just started answering people's questions and comments with new videos. Like I never ran out of ideas for content because people were literally telling me what they needed to see. And I would just and they were not always long videos. I wasn't caring about like AdSense revenue. I didn't even know that was a thing. And then eventually a couple brands started reaching out to me. I was like, this is fake. This is all. And there's no way someone's going to send me a product like a cold plunge because of these goofy videos I'm making.
Right.
Turns out they weren't scams. It was legit. It was real. And because I still was working, like I was just filming on my little off time. I was just filming and editing literally on iMovie. Hate to say it, but while driving to work, I'd be at a red light and I just would clip the brake and like it took no effort, very low effort, but it still did take time. And then eventually got to a point where I was like, man, like I'm helping a lot of people. This is really fulfilling. Like I'm getting testimonies from people who were active military and had PTSD. And they're like, man, building your cold plunge changed my life. I'm no longer on any medication. And I feel like my PTSD is settled. I would get all these testimonies and it was just like, it would just fired me up. And I'm sharing them with my wife and my kids and then videoing ourselves, like getting into the cold plunges and stuff. And then I eventually made my Instagram public because it was private forever. And then just things started going crazy. Now, flash forward, now I have a manager because not to boast, but it gets crazy quickly. Like I don't even have a massive audience, but I get 10 to 20 offers a day from brands that want to do something together. And I can't do that. I want to be selective.
Right.
So I have a manager that handles that. I now have 2 full-time editors. I now have a thumbnail designer, but I edit all my own Instagram stuff and it shows because like it's not that good. I try to keep it pretty real. Low effort, just, this is who I am. If you like me, follow me. If you don't, okay. It's all good. YouTube's where I put most of my effort because at the end of the day, like I want to give people the information they need to make the best decision. And in a 60-second reel, I feel like it's kind of hard to do that.
Yeah. You know what I've noticed between the two platforms is YouTube it's not like suit and tie, but it is more business, or you know what I mean, like there's more to it, right? Like I think it may be even more like it's the internet versus an app. Like it's kind of like different in that way. Like depending on the type of creator you are on Instagram, it resonates more if it's just a little less polished, right? Like it just feels like I'm really getting to know Dave. Like this is David. Like he
Yeah,
posted this. Like I don't want to follow a person and then get these really, really like super polished posts unless that's the type of person that I'm following, right? Like if
right.
I'm following somebody who that is their thing, then I would expect things to, I would expect the captions to look really cool and everything. Like, but if I'm following someone based on their own merit, right? Like following you, I'm just following you because I enjoy the stuff you post about families. I am really curious about the cold plunges and saunas and some of the health and fitness stuff, but like I want to get to know you. And so on Instagram, that being a little less polished is, I think, a great thing, right? Because it's genuine. I think when you get to YouTube, there's so much competition there, right? Like the thumbnails really matter, right? Because you gotta catch people. I think there's a whole lot more that goes into it. And so, I mean, obviously, I'm not trying to tell you you're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing. But I think there's a difference between the two. And for people that are listening, that are considering content creation, there is a difference between the two platforms for sure.
Yeah, I put together a full playbook because I was getting a lot of people asking me, like, man, how did you leave the car business, a 20-year career? You were the VP for 7 of those years running everything. Like, how did you leave that and become a content creator and not like completely go broke and like lose everything? And I'm like, I don't know. I just kept on doing what I felt was the right thing to do. And a lot of the questions I was getting from people was very common. So I put together a playbook that like a lot of people check out. It's cool. If anyone is interested, yeah, I have one of those, but like I don't really focus or care about selling it. Like it's not something that I care about selling, but it's helpful.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
dog, she always loves to jump in on podcasts.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. My mine is actually outside. Otherwise, you would hear him snoring because this is like his when I'm doing anything video wise, podcast, creating something, he'll come in, he'll lay right here, and he's a French bulldog, so he
So yeah, you could hear them.
so yeah, the snoring is ridiculous, and I'm like, man, of all the times you couldn't like go somewhere else and lay down, like you got a bed and you got like a kennel,
Right?
they got all kinds of stuff, all these different places to lay down. You want to lay down right here.
Right here. It's gonna be next to you.
Yeah, so if you listening to the podcast, I'm sure you've heard him snoring before, or you've at least heard me mention that he's snoring right next to me. Okay, so let's talk about now. So you're full-time content creator, and that's obviously different from being full-time in the car business. What does that look like in terms of time availability for the family now? Because we talked about there is a lot that goes into content creation, but very different in terms of like your schedule with work versus content creation.
A friend over today, and we were talking about that. And it's like when you're a content creator, and like for me, this is just, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, like every moment could be a good opportunity for content. So like yesterday we had 100 people over here, and there was a time when a bunch of the kids wanted to jump in the cold plunge. I didn't have my phone on me, and I'm like, man, I should go grab my phone real quick. This would be a great opportunity. So I did. Just grabbed my phone, ran back over there, got a couple of videos. I didn't do anything with the videos, but like that was technically I was working. Like technically that was part of my job. I wasn't doing it for fun. It was doing it because it's a cool opportunity to show a bunch of people trying out this different cold plunge. So like I'm always like there is this switch that happens, and you will eventually, if you do this, you eventually like your brain, you can't really shut it off.
Hmm.
Everything could be content. A good friend of mine, he'd be good on the podcast with you. His name's Sean Murray. He's a pro wakeboarder, one of the biggest names in wakeboarding. He actually told me, I was like, dude, how is it? Like, is everything content now? Like everything you see is like, how can I turn this into a reel or a post or something for YouTube? Like there's always this stuff. So you're always working, but it's selective. Like I can be completely present with my family. I can now volunteer at church. I can now do clash camp, the middle school church camp. I never did that as a kid. I never did that growing up. I can now go to every little thing that my kids have at school, or I can go to every single cheer competition or ninja competition or whatever they want, like anything. I can choose to do that because now, like I work with about 60 brands, which is
Wow.
insane. It's insane. I work with about 60 brands, but I get to choose everything I do. Like that's part of my contracts. I won't take a script, posting deadlines, anything like that. to me, it's got to be all organic and it's got to be real and it's got to be authentic. And if I do all that, then it's not real. It's not authentic. I won't sign an exclusivity or any of that for those reasons. But like next month, I leave on the 21st to go to Costa Rica. I'm taking the whole family to Costa Rica to spend the week with Paul Saladino, the carnivore doctor. So we're going to be in Costa Rica for a week. And then we come back for a day and we fly to New York for a week to do, me and my wife are doing the High Rocks together. Once again, bringing the whole family. So I'll be gone for 2 full weeks, like 2 weeks basically back to back. But what's cool is like I don't have to answer to anybody or like get that permission. I just knock out all the content I got to do for the month in the 20 days that I'm going to be home. And then I just schedule the publishing and my job's being done while I'm still doing work. Cause like the High Rocks race is part of my job. Going to Costa Rica and spending the week with Paul Saladino is part of my job, but it's also really fun too.
Yeah. Those are really cool perks of the job for sure.
Right.
All right. So that's really cool, man. 60 brands is a lot. I get companies that reach out and send me stuff and try this and post this. And it is weird sometimes to get like the script. Like, I don't sound like that. I don't talk like this, you know? And I'm trying to like ad lib, but like it should be this exact way. I'm like, I can't do it. I don't know.
It is hard. And that's like, so just to kind of talk on that, when I first started doing it, I was telling brands, like a couple cold plunge brands, like, hey, we want to send you a cold plunge. We'll pay you this. We'll do this. I was like, I can't commit to any of that. Like I have a job and a family. This is like fun. Mm-hmm. And no, I cannot do that. I said, if you want to send me the product, I'll check it out and see if it's cool. If I like it, I'll talk about it. But if not, don't send it to me. I don't need it. Like I don't need it. Yeah. I don't want it. I don't need your money. Like that wasn't a part of my thing. So I was able to develop really like, hey, don't send it to me. Like I was able to develop that reputation and that relationship with these brands before it was like, and I hate to say it like this, but like before it was my job, because if it was my job, I would have to rethink those conversations.
Right.
Man, you know, like brand wants to pay X amount of dollars. It's a cool product. Like, yeah, I should probably say yes to this. But I said no, like automatic no's to everybody. And then we had some conversations. It was like, hey, if you want me to talk about your product, it's got to be when I want to, how I want to, and even if I want to. And it was crazy to see like most of the brands were like super into that. There is a few brands that I wouldn't recommend no matter how much money they offered me that also said no back then, and it shows and it makes sense. But I don't want to say any names about that.
Yeah. That's okay.
There's a reason I haven't reviewed quite a few brands that people probably can recognize in the health and wellness space. But yeah, it's kind of crazy when they want you to like do all this very specifically, you know?
Yeah. Like I'm at a point now where it's like, hey, if you've got a product that it's even in my wheelhouse or something I'm interested in, then yeah, I'll try it. But like, there's no contract at this point. Like, you send it, I'll try it. If I like it, then we can continue talking. Otherwise, like, there's no point, right? Because we're gonna go through all this. You're gonna send it to me. I'm not gonna enjoy it, and then now I've been lassoed into making content about this thing that I don't like, and I'm never gonna take again.
And dude, like, I guess we could talk about it because this is us, right? This is just us talking. There's like this crazy wave of really good brands with really good products making the biggest mistake ever. And it's hiring these ad agencies that are trying to find people like me and you who have an audience, who have some form of respect in the industry. And these ad agencies have all these hoops that they want us to jump through. And it's like, hey, remember, the people listening to this podcast, they're subscribing to you, not any brand you ever talk about, right? So for me to mention your brand, if it comes across in any way that seems scripted, everyone's going to know. Right
away.
Right? So it's like, I've told ad agencies like, hey, or I've told brands that I've worked with for a while now, like, hey, I will not talk to your ad agency. And it's like, we won't work together anymore. I will not talk to an ad agency that has all these stupid little hoops that make it so fake. They turn us into like salesmen for their product. And like, that's not, have your salespeople and then let the content creators who have a good reputation and a good relationship with their audience, like, let us do what we want to do. And if you have a good product, we'll talk about it.
Right. But right. And the authenticity of us talking about it is what will get people to want to go purchase it. Like not because I said this cool, catchy line because I was a marketing major. So when I got out of college, I worked at a marketing firm for a year. And so I'm familiar with the cool marketing lingo. And we came, the catchphrase is phenomenal. Like this will be our catchphrase. Like I get it. I know somebody worked really, really hard to beat a deadline to put that together. And I appreciate all their hard work because I was in their shoes. but I don't want to say that. That's not that cool. It's really
I love it. I love that you can relate. That makes this conversation so fun.
yeah. So I'm trying to do a better job of aligning. Like 60 is a lot. So you're doing amazing. But I'm trying to do a better job of aligning with things that I'm interested in, and making sure like I'm looking at products that like if they weren't to have approached me about doing something, would I have sought them out or looked for that type of thing, or is it something that I really would want to take advantage of? Not just because they sent me a really cool email with some pricing that like sounds really
Right.
good. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's been so cool. Like being in California, have you heard of the brand Legends, the clothing brand?
Yes.
So I have purchased thousands of dollars of Legends. Like this is a built tank top,
Okay.
BYLT.
Yeah.
No one makes, I mean, they don't even make this anymore. I bought like 20 of these. It's like when you find a shirt that fits and works, like you want them all.
This is
Like,
it. These are my shirts.
you know what I mean? So Legends, I've spent so much money on their stuff, and like I don't know, I never reached out to a brand. Like even when my audience started to grow, like I never reached out to any brands and said, "Hey, like love to work with you, whatever." Legends, I did. I sent a little DM on Instagram, and they have hundreds of thousands, or I don't even know how many, so many followers. And they were like, "Hey, we have actually seen some of your content. We'd love to work with you." I'm like, "What? Yes,
Yeah.
like, it saved me so much money." So now I get to work with, like, I've started doing that with the brands that I like truly love. I get to work with Redmond Real Salt now. Bought their product for 10 years. I get to work with Legends. I get to work with Heart and Soil, Paul Saladino's company. And they're brands that like I truly love and have loved and have purchased for a long time. And now I get to like just be like, hey, I've been buying this for 10 years and this is why. So it's been really cool. Like it's cool to get to that point. But I want to, if you're cool with it, I want to talk a little bit more about the other F's of the forfeit fatherhood.
Let's do it. That's what it's about. Yes, let's get into it.
Sure, man.
So I I was looking at your YouTube page, and I saw you do a testimonial, right? We're kind of talking about your faith and talking about well, it's literally a testimony. I don't know what just talking about you, right? And your
Yeah.
testimony of kind of not converting, but like leaning more into your faith and
Yeah.
letting that be your guide and kind of leading you. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, growing up in the car business, very fast paced environment, very much most of the people I worked around were A-type personalities, like always had to win, always had to be right, always had to like was just very focused on self winning. I don't know if there's any other way to say it. And unfortunately, my faith wasn't a part of my life really growing up. And it's not that my parents did anything wrong. It's just wasn't a big part of our life. Like, did we acknowledge there was a God? Yes, of course. Like my dad grew up Catholic. We acknowledged it, but we weren't like practicing Christians, or it wasn't a big part of my life. So when I got old enough to make my own decisions and be a young, dumb kid and become influenced by other people, I very much jumped right into partying and drinking and alcohol and drugs and just all of the things of the world at a young age. And it's crazy how like people say it, and I'll say it too. It's probably cliche, but like the more you do that, the more you lean into the world, the bigger this hole is inside you. And it becomes very empty. It becomes very lonely. And even if you're surrounded by other friends doing all the same stuff, like you just become this empty, bottomless pit that you can never fill up, and you can never feel fulfillment. You can never feel good. So I was, living a really wild life, and I met my wife when I was 18 years old. And that tells you how young I was when I was doing stupid stuff. But most people do, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
And when I saw my wife, I felt like I immediately was like, gosh, this girl's attractive. Like I gotta, date her, whatever happens. That was my thoughts. And she immediately was like, I would never date a guy like you. And I'm like, anybody would. Like, you kidding me?
Right.
I immediately was shut down, and I wasn't used to that. So I was really like, I was intrigued, and there was no in. Like I had no in. There was nothing. Like she wouldn't even like look at me. No flirting, no nothing. And one day I walked by her office and saw her had a book open, and I was like, "What are you reading?" She's like, "It's my devotional." And I'm like, "I love devotional." I didn't even know what devotional meant. And she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll read it. We'll read it together." I'm like, "Yes, let's read it together." So that's how it started. My wife Stacy started to read her devotional every once in a while. Like I would catch her at the right time and she'd be reading it. And then I would come into her office and ask like, "Hey, like, are you going to do your devotional today?" After she read it a few times, I'm like, "Is this like the Bible?" And she's like, "Yeah, that's what a devotional is." Takes scripture and explains it in ways that we can understand and apply to our life. And I'm like, cool. So I didn't know it. All I was trying to do was spend time with her, but she was planting seeds that I didn't even know I needed planted. because as she was planting these seeds, then I started acknowledging some of the seeds that were being planted in my life. And like when certain things would happen and I would feel a certain way, like I would go back to maybe a devotional that Stacy had read to me and be like, this is when this comes in handy. Okay, cool. All right. Okay. So I'm not the only person going through this mental warfare. Like, okay, this is good. And then flash forward a few years later, never dated. We never went out or did anything together. And I ended up getting kidnapped by a friend of mine. His name's Keith Walker. And Keith, if you ever hear this podcast, which you might, like, dude, I love you, bro. You changed my life. But he kidnapped me. So we were going to go play basketball. Instead, he took me to church. And that day it was like, I was like, bro, like I can't go into a church. Like that's just not something that I do. And he's like, we're just going to go in here for a little bit, and afterwards we're going to play basketball. I'm like, all right, sure. So that changed my life, man. And that church it was called Second Chance Church in Claremont. The pastor was Jason Height, incredible guy. We played basketball together, and that was the church that I gave my life to Christ. And it changed everything for me. I can vividly remember, because I wasn't a crier, but I can vividly remember the day that I gave my life to Christ. Everything just changed. I just felt like this weight of all the pressure of perform, just everything just lifted off me. I was crying, snot was running out my nose. And I didn't even know like that was actually a possibility. I thought it was just things that people said, but I guess there's a reason people say it, because it's true. My life changed from that day forward. Like shortly after that, I asked Stacy to go on a real date with me, and she said yes. Shortly after that, I asked her to marry me, and she said yes. And then shortly after that, we were married, having kids. But only because I stopped living for myself and started living for Jesus. I know some people might think that's like a cliche thing to say, but man, like I've lived both sides of it. And it truly is transformational, and things just seem to work out just a little bit better when you truly stop trying to control everything and just give it to him. Like he wants it and he can handle it.
Yeah, it's funny you say it may sound cliche. Cliches are typically built off of some truth. Like there was some reality to it, and then enough people said it and believed it, and it happened to us. Like, oh man, everybody's saying that now. That's so cliche, but like, yeah, it is, because it's based on a fact. And you know what's funny is how things align themselves once you align yourself with God. Like once you get on the right page, like the sentences just start laying out. You know what I mean? And I think we fight so hard trying to create the story for ourselves, right? We're going to do this, and then I'm going to do that. And then once I get this, and then we're just struggling. And then something like a devotional falls into your lap. And that's not even like the traditional way you would have come across all of that. And then not only that, but that's kind of like breadcrumbs, and then you get kidnapped and taken to church. And then, the breadcrumbs now are all kind of coming together all at once. And you're like, oh man. And then the ultimate prize, right? She says yes, and then she says yes, and then she says yes. And like, that's so amazing. That's an amazing story.
It was so evident. And there were so many little things that I like. It would take a whole nother podcast to go over every little detail where it was evidently God.
Mm-hmm.
The only answer and the only explanation could be he had this plan, and like none of it made any sense to me. And as all of that kept happening, I'm like, this is so much bigger than me, so much bigger than any control I could take or any decision I could make or anything I could plan for. So I honestly I feel like I'm living this new blueprint life, because not a lot of people are doing it, but like I don't really plan much. Like I just every day I kind of live life like an animal, like a goldfish or something, where it's like every day I do the Jabez prayer. I say, God bless me indeed, enlarge my territory, protect me from evil, and guide me. And dude, every day it's like some new blessing that I could have never planned for just happens to happen. Like for me, for my wife, for my kids, for the people closest to me. It's truly been crazy. Like, I know it's weird, but like, I don't really, people are like, what are you going to do in 5 years? Like, I don't care. Like, I'm not worried about 5 years from now. I'm worried about like giving it all to God and letting him handle it. And so far we're almost 2 years into being a full-time content creator with like no reason this should have ever worked. The only reason is him.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really, really important to share, is they're kind of allowing space for things to happen for you, right?
Yeah.
Not only saying the Jabez prayer, but believing it, right? Because that's a really big part of it. It's because we could say a lot of things, and we could, we tell each other or tell other people that, I'm just believing in God, and then behind closed doors we're like, oh my God, it's not going to work, and like, we're not believing the actual words that we're saying or believing the scriptures that we're reading. But your faith is, and that's why I say faith, right? I don't say like religion, or I don't say Christianity, or I don't say any specific type of religion, because ultimately I'm a Christian, but it may vary, right? You may believe in some other religion, and that's between you and your God and deity and God in general, right? But there is a faith that leads you, right?
Exactly.
There's a set of beliefs, there's a system that guides your steps, and that you use as a man, as a husband, as a father, to guide and lead your family. And so that's why, like I say, I use faith as that kind of term, broader term, to kind of bring religion into it. And I think it's really, really important, because not only is it allowing you to be led, but it's also dictating how you lead your family.
Exactly. No, for
Right.
sure. And I have, it's funny because like I have close friends that struggle with their true faith. And it's like they have kids and they helicopter parent, and they're like constantly hovering over their kids, and they're like, oh, don't get hurt, don't fall, don't do this, be careful. Like, dude, let them be kids. I never tell my kids to be careful. Let them do their thing. I don't know. Sorry if anybody's listening and disagree. That's just how me and my wife are. Like if you ever come over, and I want you to come over sometime, bring your family. My backyard is insane. Where you look is danger. I'm on a lake in Florida. We have a zip line going to the lake. We have pickleball, basketball court, saunas, all this stuff. I teach my kids how to respect the things or the thing, teach them how to use, teach them how to be careful. But like, I should never have to consistently tell them, hey, be careful, do this. And it's crazy because like people are like, dude, how are your kids like, and this isn't like a big boasting of my kids, but I'm so proud of them. Like how your kids are kind, like they're like humans, like they're human beings. They have real conversations with you. They're showing my kid how to do this. And it's like, I don't know, just give them freedom. Kids are pretty freaking cool. Like even if you're a parent who, I have a lot of friends that are like this, but if you're a parent who thinks like you have control over your kid, like there are going to be moments where your kids are on their own, doing their own thing, and you can't control them. And you got to equip them. You got to give them the knowledge and the love and the grace, just like Jesus gives to us, to let them make mistakes, to let them learn through it. And it's been really cool to just like, I don't know, I'm just thinking of yesterday. Like yesterday we had a bunch of kids, and like my kids are out there with fishing poles, and there's 30 kids in the lake, and they're like showing them how to cast. And I know that seems dangerous, right? Like you don't want to get hooked, but nobody got hooked, right? Like, I don't know, like maybe one day things will stop working out, but I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I believe God's got a bigger and better plan and can control things a little bit better than we can even control or plan on controlling.
Yeah. All right. Before we jump back into the conversation, I want to share something special with you from our brother, Pastor Aaron of the Daily Drip podcast. Every week, he'll be sharing a short message to help us strengthen our faith, challenge our perspective, and walk this fatherhood journey with more purpose and spiritual awareness. So take a minute, lean in, and let this one sit in your spirit. Here's Pastor Aaron.
And isn't that the faith journey? We see it so clearly in John chapter 6. See, faith is being willing to do something you're not able to do. And that's why we have to depend on Jesus. So what Philip does, because he's great and he has a good attention to detail, he says 200 denarii worth of bread wouldn't be enough for people. So he's calculating instead of trusting in God. And God does this. He says, have the people sit down. Have the people sit down. And what God will do in our life is he tests us by saying, hey, I know you may feel like you don't have enough to serve who's in front of you, but still have them sit down so you can depend on me as you serve them. I feel that way every single time I preach. Every single time I do something for God, the inadequacy comes up. And what heals that inadequacy is the word of God, because faith comes by hearing the word of God. So what Jesus is trying to identify in the book of John is that there are so many people that want Jesus' blessings, but they don't want him. So what Jesus is trying to show people in this blessing is that, hey, the blessing only points to me. Now that triggers religious people, because religious people want to depend on their good works to be good enough to get to God.
Man, that was good. That was a reminder that progression in faith comes from following Jesus with our questions, not hiding them. That's deep. I appreciate you, Pastor Aaron. All right, let's get back into the conversation with Chad. We're just getting started. Have you always been? I don't know how to phrase it. Obviously not helicopter, and I don't want to say like relaxed. Kind of giving your kids kind of free reign to explore and learn and try and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, we give our kids freedom. We live a very all right, so this is probably going to be not good to say, but like, have you ever like probably shouldn't even ask you this, but like, did your parents ever say like, "Oh, I never did anything wrong as a kid, like never smoked, never drank, never partied, never
No,
premarital sex"?
no.
So like, sorry to any of my family who's listening to this, but like my parents did. Like they told us that they lived these like perfectly unreplicable lives. And then you find out like when you get older, like, oh, that was all a lie. Like they did do stupid
Yeah,
stuff. Like they did make mistakes. Like life would have been so much easier as a kid when I was making mistakes and I knew that my parent also made those mistakes. So I could be like, hey, remember when you did this? Can you help me through it? Instead, it's like, I got to keep it to myself. I can't share my shame with my parents because they'll just tell me how terrible of a human being I am. And it's not that
right.
they ever said that that would happen. But as a kid, you don't know. Like you look up to your parents and you're like, man, like they lived life perfectly and I haven't. Like I can't ever share that with them. And my wife had a very similar upbringing too, where it was like you never wanted to make a mistake. You never wanted to share anything like that with your parents for this reason or that reason. So I think when we got together and pre getting married, pre dating, pre having kids, having these conversations and kind of building what would be a perfect relationship, we both agreed like it would be so cool to just be honest with our kids. Like when the
Yeah.
day comes and they're like, how are babies made? Like you want to like this is you want to really know? You want to know like the the nursery rhyme way, or do you want to know actually what happens? And like our kids know, like they know actually what happens. So there's none of that like curiosity of exploring. And I mean, they're still young, but like from a young age, we've always been pretty open and honest with our kids. And that's just led to, I don't want to call it relaxed because like our kids make a mistake, they come to us and tell us. And that makes me
Hmm.
so proud. Anytime something happens where it's like, man, that you messed up. Like we think that as a parent. Like
Yeah.
I'm also so proud that they come and tell us. Like we're the first people they want to come and be like, I screwed up, I did this. Because I know so many of my friends whose kids aren't comfortable doing that, and I know why. And it's not
Hmm.
judgmental. It's just like it's not premeditated either. It's just I don't know. It takes a lot of self discipline to parent that way.
Yeah. It's something that my wife and I we talk about, and something I realized young with my kids is that I think we always think about raising kids as just that, we're raising kids, but the reality is we're raising adults.
Yes.
And so similarly, people tell me like, especially with my youngest, like she's 10, but they're like she's 10 going on 30 because she has these adult conversations. And like I tell her all the time, like you and your teacher are like best friends, because she's like, yeah, I had lunch with my teacher and we were talking about like her life, and one of her teachers is getting married. I'm like, why is your teacher talking to you about this? And I ask, and they're like, well, yeah, Reese has real conversations. Like she really talks to you. She's not like the other kids. Like she really asks questions and she wants to know. And I realized like, yeah, because like we're raising an adult. Like at some point, she's always going to be my child, but she's
Yeah.
not going to be a kid anymore. And so we have to start preparing them, not like we're giving them anything before their maturity level like dictates that they should be getting it. But yeah, even as babies, you have conversations with them. Like you talk to them like you talk to people. We don't talk baby talk. And so they're growing up to be grown-ups, right? Not adult children.
Yeah, and you see it, and it's evident because there's always kids will always eventually get to the level where they can be a part of society. But like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're so much smarter than we give them credit for. They're so much more
Yeah.
resilient and so much more resourceful. Like my one of my first viral Instagram videos was my son casting a legit spin caster rod and reel. And he's like, it was a video. I showed him how to do it one time, real hook, real everything. And he's like, hey, Pop, watch this. Like I literally videoed it to send to my father-in-law because he likes fishing. And he cast this out and he ended up catching a nice bass all by himself. And he was 3 years old. This was 2 years ago. And he's like, what 3-year-old knows how to cast? And it's not like I'm a fisherman where he
Right.
grew up on a boat and it's like expected. It's just, we obviously live on a lake and I do know how to fish and I enjoy it. But like, I never forced it on him. I just let him see his sisters doing it and see me do it. And he showed an interest. I just showed him one time, hey, here's how you flip your bill. Here's what you do with your finger. And he did it. And that video hit like a couple 100,000 views or whatever. And on Instagram. And it was just so real and so cute because it's like, dang, like that's not a normal thing you see. And I
Right.
was just a proud dad because it's like they can learn so much faster, but like most people won't put a fishing pole in a 3-year-old's hand because they're afraid they're going to get hooked. I also share the same fear. Like I don't want my
Right.
kids to get hurt, but that's where faith, and I hate to say that because some people listening are going to be like, well, I pray over my kids and my kid does drugs. I know it sucks, man. Like I'm sure some stupid, horrible stuff's going to happen at some point in life, but I also don't believe that. Like I don't believe it. And I don't know. That's just my messed up
Yeah.
brain.
Well, here's the part of it though is if it does happen, it was gonna happen anyway. Like you didn't actually stop or prevent it from happening. You may have been led to guide that thing to happen, right? But you didn't actually make, like if your son gets hooked, you didn't make it happen, right? Just because you put a hook on a fishing pole. Like it happened because it was supposed to happen, right?
Right.
There's some lessons that are meant to be learned in only one way. Like there's only one way you learn that fire is hot. Like it just,
Yes, you're right. You're
you
right.
know,
Yeah, man, I love that. That's such a good thank you for because I'm sitting here like, man, I hope I didn't say something that's going to cause some like uproar. Like this guy's an idiot. I can't believe you would say that. Like, do happen, and yes, they do. Like, hey, but
yeah.
there's way we learn. We have to learn lessons. I mean, Judas sold Jesus. I mean, but it had to happen, right? Like,
And listen, Jesus was a model for us, right? Like in our eyes, the epitome of perfection, and he still had a terrible friend in his close circle. Like, you know what I
yeah,
mean? So no, and it had to happen that way, right? It was predestined for it to happen that way. No one's like, oh man, Jesus needs to pick better friends.
and, it's another cliche saying, and being in fitness, like the only way you grow is through a little pain. Like
Yeah.
you physically can't grow unless you're tearing down muscle, and a tree really can't grow and produce fruit unless it's pruned. And like dead things don't feel. So if you're going through some pain, that's when you know you're living.
Right.
You have to deal with a little bit of pain in some form, in some way. I mean, we built a zip line out of a tree into the lake, and I had the faith that like, oh, my kids will be fine. Like they know how to hold on. There's no harness. They'll be smart. They won't let go because if they see that it's 12 feet to the
Yeah.
ground, they're like, oh,
Yeah.
it's gonna suck. Like they're gonna get hurt. My kids have never gotten hurt on that, but they have friends, and their friends come over, and they are different, and they are, not in the same physical level, and it's totally fine. I don't want the kids to not be able to enjoy life. So all it took was one friend letting go a little too soon, and not getting seriously hurt, but getting hurt. Till we restructured it to where now it has a swing, so anybody can go on the zip line and have a good time without getting hurt. Like you literally would have to like let go of the swing and fall backwards to get hurt. And now everybody's had a good time, but sometimes we have to make some changes to fit, like, what I'm saying, I hope.
Yeah, no, I get you, and I appreciate you trying to kind of put the disclaimers out there because there's parents, that take offense to anything you say, right? Because
Yeah,
parenting is something that's super personal, and
it
so
is.
I understand the maybe taking it personal, and no one's judging anybody's parenting. We're just
Uh,
sharing what we do, right, or the experience that you've had.
exactly. No, and thank you for saying that too, because I definitely get it. I have 4 kids, and they're all 4 so different. And I could imagine, when we have their friends over, they're all so different, and
Yeah,
it's just all different. But like you said, we're raising adults, like we're raising people, human beings. So that's just there's no, I don't know, is there really a book on it that is good for
no.
everybody? No, there's not.
No, absolutely not.
You just
No,
gotta help.
there isn't. There isn't. But it is what it is, right? Let's talk a little bit about fitness. So you mentioned you guys are going to do the high rocks. We talked about earlier the video of your kids working out. And funny enough, I saw you kind of put like a little bit of a disclaimer into the caption. It was like they're only lifting weights that they can handle, because
Yes,
that'll send people. They're going to stunt their growth, and the kids are going to
right.
get hurt, and people go off the handle with that kind of
It was
stuff.
cool. That video hit like 26 million views, man, and you'd be surprised the like love and the hate that comes from
Yeah,
it. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's crazy. But yeah, fitness is a big part of our life, and it's not to look a certain way; it's to be able to function. Like all 3 of my daughters are competitive cheerleaders. My son, he's 5. He just got into ninja. He likes doing all the parkour, ninja
Oh,
stuff.
nice.
Yeah, he's good too. He's like, it's just crazy to see what these kids can do and how strong they are. But fitness is just a part of our life, and it's I think like creating spaces, safe spaces, and not helicoptering around my kids has been the key to it. Like you obviously they got to know the safety measures and precautions. Like there's nothing that they could really get seriously injured with here. I mean, they could, but like they'd have to like really go out of their way for that to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
But teaching them the proper way to lift a weight and take the weight off the rack and put it on the rack and all of that stuff is key. And then just giving them that creative freedom to explore what they can physically do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that that's really important, because if you look around at the adults that are around right now, a lot of adults are struggling with their health and fitness, right? And creating that with your kids now is setting them up to have one less thing to worry about later on, right? Like they understand the importance of taking care of their body, recovery, the fitness part of it, eating correctly. Like it all just is just like we would teach them, things to do around the house in terms of chores, or teaching them how, to have physical hygiene, like just things that, as a parent, I got to teach you how to do this. That's one of those things too, is like, how do you take care of your body, right? Like,
Yeah.
how do you work to get stronger or more resilient, or just to have longevity, like a longer life? Like these are the things that, that we're going to do. Like I do, your mom does, you do, right?
Yeah. No, and that's it. I mean, like, we aren't strict with the kids on, like, they don't have to work out, they don't have to do anything, and they don't even have to eat clean. Like, we have very clean, good, healthy foods. We also have the normal everyday junk food that you'll see in most pantries, and we let our kids be kids. And I think that's the hardest thing for me is like, I grew up where, it was convenient. It was convenient to just grab a oatmeal cream pie and eat that or two of them for lunch. Like it was just convenient because it was in a wrapper. Like my youth, I experienced being overweight, and I experienced having acne, and I experienced feeling tired all the time, and no one really knew why. There wasn't access
Right.
to all this information, and it was actually kind of like, embarrassing if you went to somebody who was a professional in health and like had them teach you. Now it's embraced. It's like, no, everyone should have a coach. Everybody should, enroll in a program that keeps them accountable, or have a community of people around them to keep them accountable, which is so cool. Like if anyone's listening to this and you don't have like a community where you can have conversations about your health, and not just physically, but mentally as well, that's a game changer. Just find people are out there. And if you don't know, just start sharing your life on Instagram or YouTube, and the right people will find you. It's kind of crazy how that works.
Yeah.
But with the kids, like, we're not super strict on what they can eat or if they can work out. But I mean, everywhere you look in our house, there's something physical or something good that they can do. We spend a lot of time outside. We live in Florida, so like we have 12 months where we can go outside and it's not snowy or cold and stuff. So we're just always pretty active. And then we invite the kids, like there's no sacred time of like, hey, kids, me and mom are going to go and get in the sauna. Don't bother us. No, it's like, hey, kids, me and mom are going to get in the sauna. You want to come? If you do, we're going to be out there. And then you'd be surprised. Almost every night they'll put on their bathing suits or their towel, and they'll come out and just meet us in the sauna. It may not be the full time we're out there, but they get in the sauna probably 5 nights, 4 to 5 days out of the week, and they'll lift some weights or join a workout. Maybe not the full thing, but if me and Stacy, or if I'm just working out, or if she's just working out, a kid will come in here and get on the red light panel and the vibe plate just to be around. Because what I've realized, and you could probably agree with this or not, but I think our kids want to spend time with us. They just may not want to tell us. But if you just leave the invite open, like, hey guys, doors open, come on in and join if you want to. It's been crazy to see how much they want to.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard somebody say this some years ago, is that a kid's ultimate goal is to be your best friend.
Yeah.
Right. Like they they think you're the coolest person in the world. They think you know everything. They just want to be around you. They like, oh man, dad is so amazing. Like I just want to be in his presence. You know what I mean? Like we're a celebrity or a superstar. They want to be caught up in the glow. And they only lose that because we separate ourselves from them, right? Or we create barriers and walls that they can't get through. And so eventually they're like, oh, well, my superstar isn't really a superstar like that, or he's just inaccessible. Like I can't get to him. So I started looking at other superstars.
It's so true, man. I actually had an epiphany about 6 months ago, and it kind of, if we had this podcast 7 months ago, 8 months ago, a lot of the answers and a lot of the things would still be the same, but maybe I've dove deeper into some things with fatherhood where, like, I have 4 kids. My youngest is 5. My oldest is 13. And my son stayed home from school. And this was shortly after becoming a full-time content creator. I'm home. But this was before I hired an editor and a manager. So like I'm doing it all. Like it was a lot. It was definitely a lot. And my son stayed home from school sick with me. And so I just expected him, he's 5 or 4, whatever, however old he was. I think he was 4 at the time. I just expected him to want to just like chill, he's sick, sit on the couch, throw on some TV while I'm editing videos, like whatever, just let him chill. And he just wanted to play. He just wanted to like, hey, Dad, can we go outside? And I love going outside. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So we went outside. We're walking around, feeding the fish, whatever. And then I had to get some work done. So like we came back inside, put a little movie on, started working. And he's like, Dad, can you pull me on the wagon in the yard? And I'm like, no, we were just outside. Like I said, no, like, no, we were just outside. I got to get some work done. No, like you'll be fine. Typical parent response. Like, it just came natural. It just came out. And he was like, okay. And he went and sat on the couch. And for like maybe a minute or so, like I thought to myself, like I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, cool, now I can focus on work. And dude, something like hit me. It was almost like the Holy Spirit just slapping me in the face saying, dude, when's the last time Ava's asked you to pull her on the wagon? When's the last time Ella's asked you? When's the last time Selah has asked you? And I like got teary eyed and I was like, hey, Wyatt, let's go on the wagon. And he got so excited. So we went out there and I'm pulling him on the wagon and through the yard. And I call my wife and I'm like, babe, I just had a crazy epiphany. Like eventually there's going to be one last final time where they're going to ask hey, can we play video games? Hey, can we watch a movie? Hey, can we go on a wagon? Hey, can we feed the fish? Hey, can we, whatever it is, eventually they're just going to stop. And I was like, it just like hit me. I was like, when's the last time Ava's asked me to go on a wagon? I said, shoot, if I asked her to go on the wagon, what would her response be? And when they got home from school, I asked, I was like, Ava, you want me to pull you around the yard on the wagon? She's like, what?
Yeah.
It's just crazy how eventually it stops. So I've really tried to be like, I've tried to unlock that part of my brain where I'm listening for those things. And instead of defaulting no, I try to default yes to my kids and default no to everybody else.
Yeah, that's a game changer. And that's hard to do, right? Because I think as adults and as parents, we have a bigger picture of what's going on in the day and in our lives, right? And like even in that example, like you had stuff that you needed to do, right? And it was like, yo, I need to get this done. So the logical answer is no. Like, no, I need to get this done. Because the reality is if I don't get this done, then it turns into something else and it eventually steamrolls into bigger problems, right? But the human side of it, the heart side of it is, you're right, man. You don't know when that might have been the last time,
Right.
This is one of those times where, sometimes it just happens with age, but then sometimes it happens because you said no, right? Like Dad doesn't want to take me on, he doesn't want to pull me in the wagon. And then you don't know what the connection that they make with that is, right? Like maybe he doesn't make the connection that Dad doesn't want to, but if Dad looks busy, I don't ask him. Right. And then you make a habit of looking busy, so we never ask you anymore. And then, and that's something that lives on with him forever and you don't even know about it. Like you have no idea. And then years later down the line, I was like, Dad, you never pulled me on the wagon, man. Like I really wanted to do that. Right.
Dang, man. You just unlocked some deep icebergs in my life because it's true. Like I don't have the greatest relationship with my dad right now. I wish I did, but there are some wounds from my life that it's like, it's not worth it. It's not worth the time. It's not worth it's not worth the potential no, or the potential, like how I remember certain things going. And like, that's me being vulnerable and just sharing, like my dad's still alive and you would think I could still fix some of these things, but and I'll always love him and respect him. But I don't always feel that I could clearly ask or tell certain things without having those past wounds kind of like come to surface, and I don't want that for my kids, but it's unfortunate that us as parents, like we don't know. We don't have a little AI chip in our ears saying, hey, this is probably the last time your kid's going to call you if you don't answer or if you don't make time for him. Like, hey, this is probably the last time your kid's going to ask you to go on a wagon ride because you've said no so many times. Like there's no number, where it's like cats have 9 lives. Kids only have 9 questions before they just stop asking you. And the thing is, as a kid who experienced some of that, and maybe you can share some stuff too, but like when our parents start saying no and we just stop asking them, we don't stop asking. We don't stop filling those voids with things. We go and find other people who will say yes. And those people are unfortunately sometimes the other hurt kids who maybe have parents that are too busy for them and that's when you start, hey, oh, I stole this bottle from my parents' fridge and let's try it. I see them drink it sometimes, like, and they seem to like it. It's like no one tells their kids, hey, go become an alcoholic, but like we show them,
Right.
we show them that like, hey, if you want to celebrate a good time, get drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And they see us doing it. They see parents doing it. That's why a couple of years ago when I quit my job, me and my wife also swore we'd never drink alcohol again. And it's not because we were drunks or alcoholics. It's just like, I just want to model being the best person I can be to my kids and let that hopefully help. Hopefully help.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, man, is I told somebody this a few weeks ago, and I kind of say it all the time, is like all of the stuff that we do with very good intentions and very like, thoughtful about some of the stuff that we do, not always, but, mostly thoughtful about how we are raising our children and how we're showing up for them. We really won't know how good a job we've done. Right. Like right now, we think we're doing amazing, or in a moment we may like, oh man, I failed. I messed up. And like we put all of these big emotions on it. And then we don't know, like we won't know how good of a job we've done until they're adults and living as adults, or until they become parents. And then they either swear to never do the stuff that we did because we were so terrible as parents, or they come over for a holiday and you see them parenting the way you parented, or like your grandkids like living these enriched lives, and like, oh man, I did great. Like finally I get some reassurance of all the stress and like thought that I had about it. It actually worked out. So in the moment, who knows, right? It might be the right thing, it might not be, but as long as your intentions are correct, I guess that's the thing to kind of be looking at.
You're so right, man. You're so right. It's like it's a thankless job, but it's not, because eventually you can take a deep breath and say, all right, and even as parents, like when we do fail, that's a great learning experience for us.
Yeah.
Because just because we failed one time or two times or 20 times doesn't mean there may not be another opportunity with our grandkids. We just got to make sure that we're available for it.
Yeah, man. It's an amazing responsibility that like you said, there's no AI for it. There's no book for it. There's books out there, but all of them have very different perspectives.
So
They're coming
true.
from each individual person's own experience. And that there's a lot that can be gained from it. Even this podcast, right? The purpose of having this podcast was to learn more about fatherhood selfishly for myself, right? Because I was asking guys about fatherhood and trying to learn as much as I can so I could be a better version of myself, and taking stuff I liked and leaving stuff I didn't. But the books and the podcasts and the YouTube videos and all of the information out there is all really just noise until you can grasp something that works for your particular situation. Who knows when that's going to be, right? Who knows? Like we've been talking now for an hour and 15 minutes, and there may have been one or two things that somebody grabbed from it, and somebody might have listened this whole time and been like, dang, man, I didn't get anything. You know what I mean? You never know, right? But you have to be open to the experience of it in general, right? Like you have to have a open mind to how parenting is going to go. And I would say even per child, right? Because my two kids are very different, but they're also very similar. There's some things that I can say and do with my older daughter and that I definitely can't do with my younger daughter. But they live in the same household. They get all the same things, but they're two very different people. And so what I may learn from one book that works for my older daughter, I try it with my younger daughter. She's like, that's not gonna work.
Yeah, I know, man. You know the craziest thing? So I get a lot of deliveries here. So I became friends with all my FedEx drivers, UPS drivers, all the different carriers. And one of them's having his first kid. And he asked me the other day, he's like, I know you got 4 kids. He's like, what's the best advice you can give me as a future parent? And I don't know why, it's probably the worst advice to some people, but I was like, let your kids sleep with you in your bed as long as they want to. Mm-hmm. Never force them out. And he's like, really? He's like, oh, my dad said the opposite. I said, I know. Trust me, everyone says the opposite. And it makes sense. Like you and your wife need your sacred space and you need your privacy. But you'll have that. Hopefully your marriage is built strong enough to where like that's not going to separate you and your wife. But like we've always let every one of our kids, all of our 4 kids, sleep with us in the bed until they choose not to. And in our house now, every one of them has their own bedroom. And last night, God, I don't know why, but all of them blew up an air mattress and came and slept in our room. No idea why. They just wanted to be, it was like, they just wanted to be around us. And like my son will still sleep in our bed. He has his own little fire truck bed that's in our room that he can sleep on if he wants to. He has his own room, which he respects. He cleans up. He has all of his toys in there. But like at night, he wants to come and sleep with us. eventually I think that'll stop. Eventually
Right.
they'll stop doing that. But man, like, why do we force them out so quick? Like, why do we force them out of the bed so quick, out of the room so quick, and into being an adult so quick? Because eventually it's going to just happen. Eventually they're all going to
Right.
move out, and we're going to be very lonely, and we're going to be like, man, I wish I would have just let my kids sleep in the bed with us as long as they wanted to. Because it creates, I don't know, man. I've realized that it creates like a bond that like is inseparable. Like, we all have such a close relationship, and it's you only notice it when the kids get of age where their friends, you can see how their friends react with you as
Mm-hmm.
the parents, and then also with their parents. It's like, oh man, like there's some pain already there, and they're so young. And
Yeah.
it's almost like that separation anxiety, and then reverse. But yeah, that was the advice I gave him, and I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but it's
Yeah,
crazy.
look, like, again, I say my daughters are very different, right? My older daughter slept with us. Well, she had seizures when she was younger. But even prior to that, like, we co-slept. Like, they slept in the bed with us when they were babies. My younger daughter, she wants to sleep by herself, and has always wanted to sleep by herself. Even when she was a baby, if she was in the bed with us, she would not go to sleep. She would sleep in the crib. But my older daughter, she slept with us until she was probably 3 or 4. And then she gradually started to want to sleep in her own bed, right? As much as my youngest daughter slept with herself or by herself all this time, they both have their own rooms now, but they switch off which night they're going to sleep together, right? They
But that's
had,
awesome, man. Like, to have that is so cool.
yeah, their relationship is amazing. And like, we was like, okay, you guys are going to sleep in the same room, so we'll get bunk beds. We got bunk beds. They slept in one or the other. Like, they never slept in, like, I'm sleeping on the top bunk, you sleep on the bottom. No, they're like, you walk in and they'll both be up top. I'm like, what is happening?
But
But it
they'll
is
always be that way. Like, there's
right.
gonna be a time where you're gonna move out and have their own families, and they'll always remember that though. Like,
Yeah.
they'll always feel comfortable with each other. They'll always feel comfortable with you. They don't they won't feel like they were pushed to be alone. And I think that's I mean, just in my humble dumb mind, I feel like that can be such a small thing that can make such a massive change in some of the kids' mental health that
Yeah.
we see. Is a lot of kids feel alone, and social
Right.
media can help. They feel way less than because they're seeing these fake lives that people are apparently living, and it's scary. We want nothing but the best for our kids. I think everyone listening would agree. That's why they're listening to this podcast, is because they want
Right.
to see, is there something I'm missing? Is there somewhere I can excel and get better and optimize being a father? And I think that just like making sure your kids truly know that they have you is like key, super key. Like, probably rule number one is making sure your kids truly feel that they have you and that you have their back, like, no matter what. I think that's so not common.
Yeah. Yeah. So you talked a little bit about giving some fatherly advice to a new dad, and what you just said right now was great information as well. We've talked about a bunch of stuff throughout the podcast, talked about, business and work and life in general. But it is a fatherhood podcast. Staying with fatherhood, what does fatherhood mean to you?
Man, it means, what is fatherhood? It's all I ever wanted. I mean, like, I never cared to have my name in lights. I never cared to be famous or be known or have a bunch of friends or have a bunch of things. But like, from the time I could think about having kids, I always wanted to have kids. It means everything, and I
Hmm.
think I think it also helps that, like, I married my best friend and I have my kids with my best friend, and she also, wanted kids, and they're everything. So, like, to me, fatherhood is everything. Like, they're just like little human beings that you love on, and they're your best friends, and you get the opportunity to help coach them and guide them and love them and help them and give them grace. And it's also, I don't know, it's kind of like getting the opportunity to see how Jesus feels about us. Like,
Mm.
how much you love your kids, Jesus loves every human being on the entire planet that same amount, if not more. Because you would die for your kids.
Right.
So it gives you, when you take ownership of being a father, it gives you a little bit of a feeling of what Jesus feels for us.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, listen, and I'll give you I'll put the disclaimer for you. He's not saying that he's Jesus, or,
No.
but you know how this is, man. Social
Yeah.
media and but no, I think that is spot on, right? Like, if we're trying to lead our family, we want to lead in the way that Jesus led. If we're trying to guide our family, we want to guide in the way that Jesus guided them. But then we also want to love in the way that Jesus loved. And as you said, every father that I know to a man will sacrifice his life for his family. Jesus did that for us. I think that's a fair comparison.
Right. It's close. It's close. And I think it's the closest thing as a believer we can get to even just remotely understanding how Jesus feels about us. Our kids make a mistake. We still want to love them through it.
Yeah.
You know, our kids do something stupid, say something stupid. We just want to help guide them the right way, help them through it. You know, it really brings, having kids brought me closer to Jesus, became a little more relatable.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So if we were able to do it, and I mean, with the way things are going, it may be possible if we're able to get everybody not everybody, all fathers, right? We got them to tune in to this portion of the podcast, or if you were creating a YouTube video, right? And it was you were able to get the algorithm to like get all fathers onto this one video. What would you want them to hear?
What would I want them to hear? As a father, try to find every opportunity to say yes to your kids. Say yes to your kids. They're going to hear no from everybody else. They're going to hear no from their first girl or boy they ask out. They're going to hear no from their teachers when they get a question wrong. They're going to hear no from their first employer. They're going to hear no from everybody. But like as a father, try to find a way to say yes to your kids. I feel like that's been one of the biggest game changers for me as a father in my relationship with them.
Yeah. Not necessarily yes day like the movie.
I know, right?
But yes, yeah, I like that though. Because I think we have almost an automatic no a lot of times before we even hear it, or before we even like really think through like, is this as big a thing as it? You know, we are automatic no's a lot of times, and that's something I'm working on because just upbringing and like having awareness of my day, because I'm a little differently than you mentioned. I'm very planned. Like my day is pretty much mapped out. Like today is random because I had stuff canceled, so I had like all these blocks of my day, and then there's like these open spaces now, which is fine because I'll fill them with something else. But that sometimes though, because I understand how my day is going to lay out, I've dedicated time to specific things with my family, with my children, and so if something comes up outside of that time, I'm like, I mean, I would love to really, I want to do it, but like I got this thing that I like from this time to this time I'm supposed to. But that's something that I'm working on is leaning into saying yes, or making available more time for the thing, because I'm very aware now, especially with my older daughter. She'll be a teenager here really soon. There are things that she is no longer interested in doing with us. She wants to hang out with her friends a little bit more, and she plays sports, and so stuff is starting to happen where it's like, okay, Dad, you're still super cool, but I want to go do cool things with my friends,
We're there. And how old is she?
She's 12. She'll be 13 in August.
Yeah. August what?
8th.
I'm August 7th.
Nice.
Great time. Yeah, we're in that. Like my buddy's son is also just turned 13, and we were just talking, and he's like, it's just crazy how like he used to just want to hang out with me all the time, and now it's like, yeah, Dad, I want to go hang out with my friends. And I'm like, yeah. Ava's the same way. Like she would rather hang out with her friends than me, and it's cool. And that's why it's even more important to find ways to say yes on those random chances that she asks me to do anything. Or like the other day, she wanted to go get ice cream. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
And she thanked me. She's like, Dad, thanks so much for that. I'm like, babe, you asked me to go get ice cream. I will drop anything and take you to go get ice cream. I just wanted her to know, like, you can always ask me, and I'll always say yes. Unless I life or death can't, I will drop whatever I can to say yes to you, because there will be a time soon where she won't even ask. And it's the hardest thing as a parent to realize that is a reality, and a lot of people listening probably don't have that luxury. I didn't. For 11 years of my oldest daughter's life and all my kids' lives, I did not have the opportunity to say yes. I had a lot of things that I had to do for work. But that is one of the biggest reasons that led me down the path of like, all right, I'm giving my entire life to God and hoping and praying I can support these kids. Yeah. But man, like, I think he wants the best for us. I think we just have to sometimes truly give everything to him and say, hey, I think you want more from me than I want from me. And I'm willing to you. Dude, the final thing I'll say here is like, I had full intentions of everything crashing and burning. full intentions. Me and my wife's backup plan was we're going to sell everything and move to Costa Rica. That was it. And we were like sincerely believed that's was and still could be the possibility. Like
Yeah.
they would go move to a mud hut in Costa Rica and live off the fertile soil and surf and
Yeah, it's not a bad life, right?
Right. Yeah,
Costa Rica's a nice place.
but like I don't know. Just gave it to God, and He's just been very fruitful.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful. And I don't take any credit. I'll do the job, but I'll sow the seeds. I'll water. I'll do everything I know I'm supposed to do. But He's ultimately responsible for making those plants grow.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. I had a second part to that question, and this is, with the previous one, we got all the dads, right? We were able to somehow manage to get all of them onto onto YouTube to watch the video. This one's a little different. This one is it's not a public video, it's private, and only 4 people have the link, and they're your kids. What do you want them to hear?
Kids to hear. Well, hopefully they don't have to hear it. I want them to see and actually feel the depth of my love for them and for their mom. We have a lot of people in our family. We have a lot of people in our friend circles and stuff, and they're all it's great. Community is great, but like I want them to always know, not just because I told them, but I want them to be able to be like, man, like Dad freaking loved Mom and Dad freaking loved us. I don't know. That's a hard one because like I don't want to just tell them. I want them to truly know, see, hear, feel. And I guess what I'd want them to hear is like, hey, Dad has made a ton of mistakes. And I'm still here. And I continue to make a ton of mistakes. And God continues to give me grace for it. So there's no mistake too big. Lean on your father, lean on your mother, lean on Jesus. They got your back more than anybody else on the planet. Because I don't want my kids to ever feel like they need to lean on somebody else to help get them through. We should be able to help each other through anything.
I think you are, from what I can tell, right? Like I don't know you guys all intimately and personally, but I can tell from how you talk, how you show up, how you present, that you are living a life that will allow them to feel it, right? You don't necessarily have to hear it, but hearing it also helps, right? Hearing it solidifies the feeling, right? It puts the feeling into words. But I think you're going to be okay. Right. They're gonna feel it. They're gonna know it. They're gonna remind each other of it. Like, man, you remember when Dad was, him and Mom used to, and like all of that stuff is, I think you're doing an amazing job just by hearing the way that you talk about your wife as your best friend, talking about how you love on her, how you guys parent together. And I think you guys are okay. Like that video's gonna get a lot of views just because they want to see you. But the feeling is beyond the video.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Because we never know. It's not like a checklist every day where it's like, did Dad do this? Cool.
Yeah.
Visually see, all right, cool. I got everything checked off today. It's a ongoing cycle of consistency. Just like working out. Just like all the important things in life. We just got to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Tweaking it.
Well, listen, man, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us and talk about everything, but talk about fatherhood, to talk about faith, to talk about family. I really, really appreciate it. I know that, as a father, as a husband, as a leader, as a creator, your schedule is busy, your life is busy, and you taking the time out to share with us is extremely important. And on behalf of myself and the listeners, I want to say thank you for taking the time to spend with us.
Thank you for the opportunity to share, man. I was looking forward to this. Just super, super grateful to be able to share, but also to be able to listen and learn from you and just have the conversation, the connection. I think it's really for me as a guy, not as a father, but just for me as a normal dude, connecting with like-minded individuals is key. And knowing that we're not alone in this journey, and there's others who are really trying to be good dads and be just good people, good members of society. Mm-hmm. It's just reassuring that we're not alone.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, it'll be in the show notes, and there'll be a link to a profile for you and all that stuff. But if guys are listening on the run, as we do sometimes, or at the gym or whatever, what is the best way for them to kind of reach out to you if they want to say, great episode, or they just want to kind of find out what you've got going on? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, I'm very active on Instagram. I just hit 100,000 followers on Instagram, which was cool.
Nice.
Didn't think that would ever happen. I don't even know how it happened, but okay. So woohoo! I don't know when people will be looking at or listening to this, but that's always cool. And haven't turned my Instagram over to anybody, and I won't. So like any comment, DM, message will be me. So you can reach out to me there. I'd love to hear from you. That's DMAUSJR, Dmosh Jr. Also on YouTube, same thing. I read every comment and stuff like that, but if you want to actually talk, Instagram's probably the best way to do it.
Awesome. Yeah, people, when you get to a certain number of followers, and 100,000 is a whole lot, people turn it over, right? And you message and it's like nothing happens. But even for myself, like I'm still actively answering, because the mission was never the followers, right? The mission was connection. The mission was sharing information. The mission was expanding my own fatherhood and leadership. And so if I turn that over to somebody else, then I'm missing opportunities to connect in the way that I'm supposed to. So fellas, make sure even if you don't have any questions, make sure you go and follow. Let's see if we can get that 100,000 to 200,000. Make sure you're connecting. And like I said, even if it's just to say, hey man, I appreciate the episode, appreciate the time. That goes a long way. I don't think people realize that those comments, they seem like nothing, to type it up, but they mean a whole lot. Like, shares, all that stuff is cool because it pushes the algorithm, but like a genuine DM, like, hey man, keep up the good work. It's great content. It goes so far.
It does. It really does. And like I mentioned in the beginning of this, the guy from Australia who I'm helping with his DIY, like he took a shot me an email. And yes, I get a lot of emails and DMs, but like, I read them. And if I don't respond, it's not that I don't want to, it's that I truly got busy and didn't get to it. So please, if you've ever emailed me or messaged me or anything and I haven't responded, please ping me again. Instagram Messenger is not very pro business. It's not like it just falls to the bottom. And like, I wish there was like a way to mark it unread or like star it like on Gmail where it like stays at the top.
Stays at the top. Yeah. Cause
there's some like crazy, really intuitive questions that I want to help. And like, I can't just on the fly respond to, and then, I'll forget, unfortunately, or like, I just won't be able to find it again.
Yeah.
You don't remember the person's names. Now, definitely reach out. That would mean the world.
Yeah. All right, cool. I got some questions to ask you, but I'll ask them off the pod because I don't know if you got so many brands you're working with. I don't want anybody to feel left out. So I'm putting my. Well, then I'll do it. Let's do it, right? And then we'll edit if necessary. So I'm redoing my garage. So I have a gym. I'm a gym owner, but it's like 30 minutes away from my home, right? We have a community gym that's in our neighborhood, but there's a big neighborhood and a small gym. Tons of people there. So I got equipment here, and I've obviously got equipment at my gym, and we're upgrading. So I'm moving some of this stuff into my garage. But in terms of recovery, I had like a little sauna that I got for Christmas several years ago that's falling apart. Need to get a new one. And I've been just getting in my pool as a means of a cold tub. It's not cold enough, but when it depends on the weather, it gets chilly. What are some what should I be looking for? Right? Because I know you've tried it. Everything at this point. What are some recommendations, I guess, as you can give me?
I'm really impressed right now with a company called Coldture, Coldture. They just sent me their newest. It's called the Pro Plunge Lite. It's a roto molded tub, so it's plastic, similar size to the Renew tub. That's like $15,000 as far as like the feel goes, and it's got incredible filtration, incredible jet, ozone, all the stuff that I would want in any cold plunge to keep my water clean and keep it cold. It's not going to create ice, so it's not like the most powerful cold plunge, but it's a very, I would say, user-friendly cold plunge. It'll last a long time. You can get in it sweaty. I always tell people to rinse off before you get in a cold plunge because obviously the cleaner the water is, the cleaner the water stays. If you get in really sweaty or, dirty and stuff like that with deodorant and, anything like that, lotion on your skin, it'll quickly mess up the water, but it's putting out a pretty good amount of ozone, which ozone purifies the water. It oxidizes anything that's in the water that's not H2O. So it's a really good way of keeping water clean, and it has it built in. So like, I'm really impressed with that. It's like a $5,000 system. If you're trying to get something cheaper than that, there's the Mod Tub and the Desert Plunge. Both of those are really, really high up on my recommendation list because same thing. They're both built out of very durable material. They have a really durable chiller that cools the water. You can get optional ozone, and the filtration system is incredible. It's not built all in like the Coldture Pro Plunge Lite. It's all one thing. Mm-hmm. I just dropped a review on my YouTube channel on that product, and it's an impressive product. I think they're going to sell a ton of them. I think we'll get a lot of views on that video because it's just a really, really cool cold plunge. But Mod Tub and Desert Plunge are very easy to recommend. They're around $3,000 for the full setup, brand new. And then if you wanted something that was just super duper sick and you wanted to spend more money, Plunge makes an incredible cold plunge. I really like the Plunge all in, but it's like $8,000. So, prices goes up a little bit. It's beautiful. It's that white porcelain tub look. Same thing. Ozone, great chiller, really cool ecosystem. They have a good app so you can like control things, see how your filter is doing and all that. So it's super user friendly on the maintenance goes. Three, I always like, those are the easiest three for me to recommend. Like if it's about budget, but you want something you can rely on, go Mod Tub or Desert Plunge. And the only difference is both tubs are just different looking and they have different color options. But there's like three different options you can choose from, and they're all similar but different. But they're both around $3,000. The new Culture Pro Plunge Light, I think, is going to be a really hot selling cold plunge for all the right reasons. And then Plunge makes great products as well. When it comes to the sauna, my question would be, do you want infrared or do you want traditional?
That is a great question. And you being the expert, what are maybe the pros and cons or differences? Because so if I go to, like, when I go to the commercial gym, I go to 24-hour fitness typically because they're open all the time. And so I get up early. I get up at like 4:30 to go to the gym. And so I'll hit the sauna there, and it's like it's the dry sauna, right? Yeah. But then there's also a Choose Fitness that my wife really likes to go to, and they've got a infrared red light sauna. So the feel is very different between the two. I typically enjoy the drier, hotter sauna than the red light, but I don't know if it necessarily, for me, I haven't done a whole lot of research on which one has these benefits or that benefits or whatever. It's just, I finish my workout, I'm getting in something. It's whatever gym I'm at that time.
For sure. No. And I think that there's so much information being shared that it tricks people up and it gets people, it's like information overload. And they're like, I don't know which one to buy. They're both expensive. So I'm just not going to buy one. I'll just keep using the one at my gym. And I would say that like the first question would be, do you want the sauna? Is it going to be primarily you using it, or do you want something that the whole family could get in sauna together?
I don't know that we would all sauna together. I know my wife and I would. So at least two people. My daughters, I don't know how much they would, maybe they will as they get old. I mean, they're both heavily in sports, and maybe they will as they get older, or if they see us in, they'll want to get in, but I don't know. I don't know yet. So I can't.
I'll tell you this. I used to have an infrared sauna that I bought on Amazon. It was a little 1.5 person. It was called a 2-person, but it was not a 2-person. Like maybe 2 tiny people, but like, and I'm not huge, but like it was not very comfortable. I've since gave that one away, and I've reviewed a ton of them. If I was getting a 1-person sauna, it would be that. It's the Heavenly Heat. It is an infrared sauna. It's tiny. It could fit into a closet. That's like kind of their thing. Their niche is people who live in New York have a small space. It's infrared, but it can reach 185 to 200 degrees of infrared, which is insanely hot, unnecessarily hot. Obviously, you can set it to any temperature you want, but it can reach super high temperatures and you'll sweat in 30 seconds. Like it's the most powerful infrared sauna I've ever been in. So they also have other options. Like they have the 2-person and the larger ones too, which are great. If I was buying one sauna for like my garage, the problem too is like I would want something my whole family could fit into, because I've seen how life-changing it is. And like to any family who hears this, if this makes it to the podcast, if you have kids and they aren't into the sauna yet, don't think they won't. Like, I don't know, like there's something relaxing and just cool about getting into a sauna and you're sweating, especially like having friends come over and get in. I would get a 4-person sauna, something that you could fit, 2 to 4 people in comfortably, because it's also comfortable for you and your wife. You don't have to like sit there like this, like real tight, sitting vertical. Like if you got one that's a little bit bigger, and they're already expensive. So like that one there is like $6,000 for a 1-person. Yeah. So they're already crazy expensive, and anything less expensive than that, unless it was like a sweat tent sauna or something that you can fit a lot of people in, but you have to have it outside, like they're not going to be as great. Like they're not going to get as high. They'll max out at 145, or everything has its thing. But like from my experience in saunas, like that's the one area I don't want to say cheap out on, but like I would spend the money and get like the right sauna, because it's such a big thing. You want it to work good. But if I was buying a sauna right now, it would be the Sisu sauna. I'd get a larger Sisu sauna. The wood is just incredible. The Amish build it, so it's like insanely high quality. Everything's pieced together so nice. It gets insanely hot. It's a traditional sauna. You can pour water on the rocks and make steam. So you can do it as a dry sauna, traditional sauna, or you can make it a steam sauna. The benches are huge, so you can lay down and sprawl out and really enjoy it. Gotcha. But Plunge makes a good sauna too, and like they're similar price, so they're just 2 totally different looks.
Okay. All right.
all.
No, it did. I mean, I've got to do some research anyway, but at least I've got some ideas of not only brands but types, and I can look at those and go, okay, I like these attributes of it, and then find what works, and then also what fits into my space. And then, once I decide, I'll make sure to hit one of your links and pull the trigger. And then once I get it in, I'll shoot you a video or a picture of our setup.
I also have, just so you know, on my YouTube channel, I went through. It took a lot of work. I didn't hire anybody to do it, so I was doing it myself. But I have playlists for like sauna reviews only, because I used to have a ton of like sauna content, but it kind of would get buried. So it's like sauna reviews only, where it's literally like a review of each specific product. And if it's made that list, then it's one worth considering. I also have cold plunge reviews only. And I thought about doing a series of like, if I was spending X, what cold plunge would I buy? If I was spending X, what sauna would I buy? Because I feel like that's the question I get a lot is like, hey, my budget's $5,000, which sauna should I get? And
for sure.
Like, because, you go to Costco and you can buy a sauna for $5,000, but everyone I know who's bought that $5,000 sauna at Costco has had to throw it away in the first 6 months because it's horrible quality wood. That's why I haven't reviewed it. It's not that I haven't had the opportunity. It's just why.
Okay.
I don't want to do negative reviews. So like the thing that I tell people is like, if it's made the list on my channel, then it's a product worth considering. I won't waste my time or yours on doing a negative review. Just, there's a lot of options out there and most of them aren't that great.
Yeah. Well, good. That's good to hear, because the link that my wife sent me was the one from Costco. So
dude, that's so funny. But yes, because it's affordable, but there's a reason.
Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. I do think that's a really good idea, though. The budget oriented video is, I think, a great one. And then it's kind of content you've already created. You're just repurposing it.
Yeah, exactly.
To some degree.
Question specifically on a specific budget, but that's time.
Yeah, that's how it works. All right. Well, in the interest of time, again, I appreciate it. This episode, I've obviously got to edit some stuff. There are 3 episodes ahead of you. So I'm editing all of those. So we're probably looking at, end of May where this will come out. The week of, it'll come out on a Friday. The week of, you'll see me start to post and tag and stuff like that. I'll send you some video and stuff to your Instagram, and maybe even through email as well, depending on the size of it. That way you have to share or use however you want to. I can send you a link to this whole episode, so you have all of that content to use if you want to. And yeah, so if anything comes up in between now and then, questions, comments, concerns, anything you want me to share, or anything I can help to do or support you in, that's forever, not just up until the podcast is aired, just whatever. Okay, cool. So I appreciate it, man. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll be talking to you soon.
Sounds like a plan, bro. You too.
All right, man.
Later, man.
Later. All right, you just tuned into another episode of the Fit Fatherhood podcast, and I sincerely hope that you walk away from this episode with something that you can use in your fatherhood journey. If you aren't already, please make sure you go like, subscribe, share the podcast. There's fathers out there who need this information just like you did. Make sure that they get it. Remember, if our goal is to improve the world, we're trying to do that one father at a time, one household at a time, one community at a time. And the only way we can do that is if we share the message with other brothers. All right. So, see you guys next time.